All right, let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons. We keep talking about how our projections are too conservative. This is a good example. It's really hard to imagine that Atlanta actually finishes this year with a winning record. This team is totally and completely rebuilding.
They have $63.3 million in dead money after the Matt Ryan and still Julio Jones trades, which is the most in NFL history, partially because the salary cap keeps going up. To quote Douglas Adams, they are spending the year dead for tax reasons. I would love to, get some truth serum in there and figure out when did the Falcons front office decide to do this. Because I think it's absolutely the right thing to do. They had buried themselves under bad contracts for years and years and years, and ripping off the Band-Aid now gets them in a position where they can be financially healthy when, Tom Brady finally retires, when the Saints salary cap situation blows up, before the Panthers get any idea what they're doing. So they're suffering through this pain now with the idea of being successful next year, 2 years, 3 years down the line when the rest of the division's going down. I think it's a great plan. I just would love to know when they came up with it, because it certainly did not feel like that was the plan.
And when they were actually interested in Deshaun Watson, that was certainly not the plan.
I would love to know how they would have financially planned that. They had the worst salary cap situation in the league. I mean, they and the Saints had the most money pushed in the future, but at least the Saints were a wild card team. The Falcons were the worst 7-win team in the history of DVOA. You have a horrible salary structure, and you have nothing to speak for it. That's the time to start rebuilding. So congratulations to the Falcons. You did a smart thing.
And the good thing about Desmond Ridder is that by taking him in the third round, they are not truly tied to him in any way. If they end up with a top 5 draft pick, which I think we all believe is a very strong possibility, they can go out and draft a top quarterback and make Ridder the backup, and everything's happy.
And they have two live. Yeah, the odds that either Marcus Mariota or Desmond Ridder are the quarterback next season are low, but they're not zero. They do have 2 live cards in the deck here, which is exactly what you want to do. I think Ridder looked very polished in the preseason game. His numbers aren't great because there were a lot of drops, but those with, the third, fourth string receivers. And I think starting caliber receivers would catch some of those plays. Whether the Falcons have any starting caliber receivers remains to be seen. But Ridder looked like he knew what he was doing, as opposed to, say, Matt Corral in Carolina or whatnot.
That's not the bar, please.
Yeah, no, but I was saying for the first half we've seen him. We've only seen him play the one half in the preseason game. Right. He looked comfortable, and I think that's a promising first sign.
Yeah, and one of the things you said is is this a great environment to nurture him if he got the starting job right away? Probably not, because the drop passes and the fact that he doesn't have a good supporting cast. Offensive line looks pretty wild right now as well. That's what Marcus Mariota is for right now. So you do not have to worry about Ridder in the opener, but you can put him in at some point. The obvious joke about Marcus Mariota possibly getting hurt, which I always do at the same time. You watch that game. He took about 4 hits in a series and a half. Marcus Mariota did. So we might see Ridder sooner than later. I think he looked like he belonged. I don't know how polished. I'm really uncomfortable with saying he was, but you're right. There's a 5%, 10%, 20% chance that quarterback's still on the roster this. I mean, the quarterback of the future is actually on the roster this year.
Their defense also looks like their secondary is actually reasonable, right? AJ Terrell was fantastic last year by charting stats.
Best charting stats since Darrelle Revis in 2010. Partially because he's very good, and partially because why would you throw the ball at AJ Terrell when you had the rest of the secondary to target?
Correct.
And Isaiah Oliver, Casey Hayward, the safeties are all right. It's the front 7 is just the front 7 is a disaster zone.
It's got a big under construction sign on it. They used, I think, 3 of the top 100 picks on front 7 guys. They brought in a bunch of free agent stuff. They're shuffling things around just trying to see what works. Because again, it's a rebuilding year. You get as many live cards as you can and see what's going to stick for 2023.
Did any of us watch the Falcons preseason game, by the way, and see how Drake London? What do you think of Drake London?
Drake London had 1 catch and got hurt, so that's not ideal. And he probably won't play this week either, which is not ideal.
I don't think it's serious long term, but yeah, it's literally, hey, there's a catch by London, and he's limping to the sidelines. That's pretty much it. After Mariota scrambled and took a hit at the end of the scramble, that was the Falcons looked pretty good in the first series, but all the things you didn't necessarily want to see were the things that happened.
Yeah, the Falcons wide receiver situation is very interesting. Last year, fewer than 60% of their targets, people in slot or wide, went to actual wide receivers. They were going to Kyle Pitts. They were going to Cordero Patterson. Every other team in the league was above 70%, and most were above 80, 90, unless you had Travis Kelce or something out there. watching the Falcons offense last season was watching something entirely out of it didn't look like an NFL offense. It's just people were used in such strange ways. 25% of Kyle Pitts' targets came split wide, not even in the slot, out wide as a wide receiver. The only other tight end we have on the database who did that was Jimmy Graham back when he was arguing with the Saints whether he was a tight end or a wide receiver. It's so strange to watch.
Right. And now you look at it and okay, Edwards probably has some value, etc. We have a rookie coming off, getting injured in the first game. And then it's back to the same old Yahoos behind them. Zacchaeus and those guys are still your 3, 4, 5 behind.
Jameer Bird has got some speed. I don't know anything about Kadero Hodge.
Geronimo Allison, like the bottom of the Packers non-Devontae brigade is out there. It's really, really rough. And again, Kyle Pitts will be split out wide. They have a good number 2 tight end, right? Am I missing?
Their number 2 tight end is Anthony Ferchser. Used to be with Tennessee.
Yeah, so he's familiar with the system. He's going to be spending all the time in line while Pitts is out there being a wide receiver.
I don't recognize the names on this roster. That's what bothers me. I don't recognize these names.
Right. Well, like, for example, the nose tackle on our lads is a guy who is a second-year college UDFA named Anthony Rush. I have no idea who that is. The defensive end opposite Grady Jarrett is Traquan Graham, who was a 5th-round pick last year.
Yeah.
Rashawn Evans, who kind of played his way out of Tennessee, linebacker. I
remember him. I remember Lorenzo Carter. I don't know who Michael Walker is, to be honest. I'm sorry. I know he was a 4th-round pick.
Lorenzo Carter is a little underrated. He always comes out with good numbers.
I try to be more optimistic about the Falcons than I am when I'm talking about the Panthers, even though they're going to be in the same basic kind of tier of the league. Because the Falcons know what they're doing. They're clearing off the books. They're trying to get as clear as possible for next year. They're evaluating players. So players who shouldn't be starting for most teams, it's okay if the Falcons are starting because maybe they found someone here. Maybe the 5th-round pick from 2021 is going to be a thing. And so I try to focus more on the optimism because I've seen worse receiving corps. I've seen worse front sevens. There are useful players here that should be all rotational pieces. Very few outside of Grady Jarrett. I'm not sure anyone in the front 7 should be a regular starter. But maybe we're wrong. Maybe it's perfectly fine to be evaluating these people in this year.
Yeah, I get the idea that the Panthers, they're going to fire Rule and everything. And all the young players that we're kind of excited about are going to be on another team in 2 or 3 years because they're going to be in this rebuilding churn. Whereas the Falcons are at least like sort of slating things out here.
If you squint, you can kind of see, well, there could be the bones of a competing team here. You have to be very optimistic. But, there are players under contract who have potential or have a trait. And, so maybe we can build this. Maybe we can build on this and build something.
It feels more likely that the Panthers fail upwards and get themselves out of position to get Stroud or Young, whereas Falcons are in position to get Stroud or Young.
Yeah, the Falcons are either going to get Stroud or Young, or they're going to have a very positive season going forward. So either of those is a pretty good outcome.
Do we have any interesting Falcons props, or is it who wants to bet on this team?
Over 6 wins. Over 6 wins at plus 260.
I mean, our simulation loves that. The simulation thinks that's an amazingly good value.
I mean, you get the Panthers twice. Those are winnable games. They have Chicago. They have, let's see who else on the schedule. They have Seattle. They have Cleveland before.
It would mean that they're better than you expect, which means that they're competitive with New Orleans and maybe pick off one of the 2 New Orleans games.
Yeah. They get Arizona at the end of the year. If Arizona does their general, end of year collapse, there's enough potential. They get Tampa Bay in week 18 when they may be resting all of their starters for for the postseason. I will take that. I will be the one being optimistic.
And 6 is a push.
Yeah, 6 is a push. Yeah.
So I would absolutely do that bet. Yes, 6 because 6 is a push, especially. You definitely. I think there's good value in that bet.
Under 4. Now under 4 is really pessimistic. That's only at plus 140.
I mean, again, our projections would be are too conservative that there's too many random wins for bad teams to go under 4 for anybody.
Yeah. Here's one that caught my eye because it shows you how low the ambitions are in Atlanta. The Atlanta Falcons to score over 340.5 regular season points. 340.5 regular season points, the over. That's 20 points per game, folks. I'll save you the math. Is at plus 100. So you can bet on the Falcons clearing the 20 point per game level.
I think I would do that. I think that there's going to be points here in the 4th quarter when they're losing because their defense is terrible.
And Mariota and Ritter are both live cards. If one of them is better, if one of them ends up being a starting caliber quarterback this season, that will raise all boats. Yeah.
You guys, if you do that, I'm telling you, it's going to be a Week 18 shutout. If you do this, it's going to be a Week.
I'm going to go on record. Falcons games are going to be more entertaining than you think they're going to be because 1, this defense is going to suck. 2, Kyle Pitts. 3, scrambling quarterbacks. And 4, Kyle Pitts. The Atlanta games. I mean, it's not like they're. Let me look at the schedule, but my guess is that they're never going to be in any kind of. I think there's a Thursday. Didn't we figure out there was a Thursday night game against Carolina?
Yeah,
in November.
Yeah, they play a Thursday night against Carolina in Week 10, and they're in the late window against Seattle in Week 3 in a game that'll probably be also in the Charlotte and Seattle markets. While some other game is nationwide. Like there's not going to be a lot of Atlanta, but my bet is Atlanta is going to be more entertaining than you think.
They could be a good red zone team. Like now we cut to Atlanta to show Drake London doing this great thing, or Kyle Pitts making this fantastic catch, and now we'll get back to the game that's actually competitive.
It's the fourth quarter, and Washington is beating Atlanta 30-17. Now let's look at Kyle Pitts do something awesome.
This is what Red Zone was built for. This is exactly what Red Zone was built for.
No. Okay, fine. Right. Yeah. Any team is fun if it's only their 3 highlights. I watched the Falcons live. Don't tell me that this is an exciting team to watch. Do not try to sell me that snake oil.